यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनावल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनावल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनारञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनारञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारि यमुनातीरा वनचारि जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा गोपी जना वल्लभा राधा गोपी जना वल्लभा जय निताय पतिता पावन गौर हरि निताय पतिता पावन गौर हरि प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सर हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरण मारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की जय जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरदास ठाकुर की जय शिल रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीवा गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री जय जय श्री श्री राधा गोपी जन वल्लभ गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय शेखर चक्र धाम की जय गंगा मैया यमुना मैया की जय भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to assemble devotees, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Agyan Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरू श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेव श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशपालिने जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम् ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय The reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, verse number 28. इति एवं शैशवं भुक्त्वा दुःखं पौगण्डमेव च अलब्धाभीप्सितो ज्ञानात् इत्थमन्युषु चार्पितः इति एवं शैशवं भुक्त्वा दुःखं पौगण्डमेव च अलब्धाभीप्सितो ज्ञानात् इत्थमन्युषु चार्पितः इति एवं शैशवं भुक्त्वा दुःखं पौगण्डमेव च अलब्धाभीप्सितो ज्ञानात् इत्थमन्युषुचार्पितः इति एवं in this way Shaishavam childhood Bhuktva having undergone Dukkham distress Paugandam boyhood Eva even cha and Alabdha not achieved Abhipshita he whose desires Agyana due to ignorance Iddha kindled Manyu his anger Sucha by sorrow Arpita overcome. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In this way, the child passes through his childhood, suffering different kinds of distress and attains boyhood. In boyhood also he suffers pain over desires to get things he can never achieve. And thus due to ignorance he becomes angry and sorrow. Purport. From birth to the end of 5 years of age is called childhood. After 5 years, up to the end of the 15th year is called Paugand. At 16th years of age, youth begins. The distresses of childhood are already explained. But when the child attains boyhood, he is enrolled in a school which he does not like. He wants to play, but he is forced to go to school and study and take responsibility for passing examinations. Another kind of distress is that he wants to get some things with which to play, but circumstances may be such that he is not able to attain them, and he thus becomes aggrieved and feels pain. In one word, he is unhappy even in his boyhood, just as he was unhappy in his childhood, what to speak of youth. Boys are apt to create so many artificial demands for playing, and when they do not attain satisfaction, they become furious with anger, and the result is suffering. Translation once again. In this way, the child passes through his childhood, suffering different kinds of distress, and attains boyhood. In boyhood, also, he suffers pain over desires to get things he can never achieve, and thus, due to ignorance, he becomes angry and sorrow. Very, very interesting chapter, actually. This whole teachings of Lord Kapila is amazing. Last chapter, this chapter. Um, if we read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, he says, Brahma, Bhuvana, Loka, Puna, Avartino, Arjuna. He says, he says, starting from Brahma Loka down to the lowest planet, every place is a place of misery because there is repeated cycle of birth and death that takes place. And Bhagavad Gita is very concise, very like um, abstract in a way. There is Bhagavatam is more like especially these two chapters are a commentary on this verse of Dukhalya Shashvatam. And Lord Kapila is, Lord Kapila is the most intelligent because he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the nature of Maya is the Maya makes us forget our suffering. And the Maya offers false promises. False promises. Why false promises? Because she promises this will be very nice for you. You must get it. And then you will be happy. And these promises are called false because, like Prahlad Maharaj say, this material world, he compares every happiness in this material world as Mithopi Padyata, Vihavitanam. Um, in the end, he says, Adanta Gobi Vishetam Tamisham, Puna Puna Charvita Charvanam. Where he says every pleasure in this world is chewing what we have already chewed and thrown away. And likewise, in this material world, although we have many experiences in this life itself, the nature of Maya is the Maya will make us forget all the misery in material world, and Maya reminds us only of the pleasure. And that's why false promises, because it's like Maya has installed Maya is like a software. All the misery and activity Maya will delete, and you don't remember misery. All we remember is how much happiness this material world has. And then naturally being conditioned so we are attracted by Maya's false promises. And then when we desire and when we engage in the activities, uh, then she shows her real nature. Then again, all the misery will come. Then we're like, oh no, this material world is so much misery. Once we go out after some time, then we again want the same thing again. This is what Prahlad Maharaj says. We are chewing what we have already chewed. There is nothing that we will chew that doesn't exist, that we haven't chewed before. And Kapila Muni is giving a synopsis of the life. Kapila Muni is giving a realistic journey of a jiva, and Maya gives a optimistic, optimistic view of this material world. Kapila Muni is giving a pessimistic view of this material world. Like Srila Prabhupada said, but that view, if to the extent we become realized or we come out of ignorance, and to the extent we go beyond three modes, or Krishna reveals to us the nature of this material world, to that extent we can realize the true nature of this material world. Otherwise, it's just false promises. And how Kavila Muni is describing the living entity, sinful activities, he's suffering in this material world, and then he commits sins, and then he goes to hell, and then how he suffers there. Then he goes to animal species, how he suffers there. Then he enters into the womb of a mother and how he suffers there. He enters into the womb of a mother and how he suffers there, and then he come out and how he suffers. Like few verses before we saw the child is pushed from the womb, and the child um, um, falls into a bag of stool and urine in the below the mother's womb. Before he comes out, he falls into a bag of stool and urine. Then he piteously cries, and then he comes out. How painful it is. Then he comes out, and then when he is out, his body is itching, because his skin is very soft. And when he itches, he doesn't have strength to even scratch the itch, and he cries. And then he is forced to do what he doesn't want to do, and all he can do is cry. Sometimes he feels pain, sometimes he's forced to eat something or drink something, or he's not hungry, or whatever he is, he cannot speak, he cannot communicate, and he's forced to do things against his desires. And the only way he expresses it, he keeps crying. And he is handed over, according to Bhagavatam, he is handed over to those they don't know what. Some may get idea, but many they have no understanding of how to nurse the child, and that's how he suffers. And then after 5 years of age, then this verse speaks about he comes to boyhood, and when he comes to boyhood, then also he suffers. There is a wrong propaganda that says in our childhood we were happy. This is all Maya statements because Kapila Muni is not supporting that. Many times people say, and we hear, childhood people are very happy. Here, uh, Kapila Muni instruction is the child when he is in childhood, he is miserable. When he is in his Paugand, he is miserable. And future was described when he is in youth, he is miserable. Why is miserable in childhood? Why in Poganda, why in youth, why in old age, why all the time the living entity is miserable, then the living entity is miserable, his death is miserable, his disease is miserable, then his afterward journey by Yamduta is miserable, his suffering that is miserable, his animal birth is miserable, then his birth in the human womb is again miserable, then his coming out is miserable, and this is the purport of what Bhagavad Gita says, Dukhalyama Shashvata. And um, um, Maya describes how everything is very attractive. How you can be happy in this world. Kapila Muni says how everything in this world is miserable. Quite a contrast. And that is why we say Bhagavatam doesn't cheat us. Bhagavatam gives you a clarity. Thing is, that's why Bhagavatam is not something that is read and understood. Bhagavatam is something that has to be read every day. Because even if we have read and understood, we understand it only for the time being. Because Bhagavatam is speaking, Bhagwan is speaking his realization. Maya is speak his false promises through our mind. And when Bhagavatam goes away, our mind is again overcome by three modes. We forget even what we have read. And then again the false promises, and there's like, I'll be happy by this, let me get this, let me get that. And this will make me happy. So here, Prabhupada describes about the suffering that comes during the boyhood. In the boyhood, I was thinking probably somebody should speak who have their children in their boyhood, and probably they can explain this verse better. But we can only speak based on what little bit we see here and there. The child has desires, and what kind of desires he has? The child, in the boyhood between 5 and 15, we were talking about 5 and 15, they want to eat something that they like, and then when they don't get what they like, they become miserable, they cry, they become sulky, and actually it's a suffering. They are suffering. They make others also suffer who are their parents, but they are suffering themselves, because they have a certain desire that is not fulfilled. And then they, whatever desires they want, they are restricted, and for them that is a suffering. Prabhupada gives an example. They don't want to study, they don't want to give exams, but then they are meant to, they are forced to do that. Then they want say Nintendo games, and then after buying Nintendo also they become bored with one, they want another, and sometimes parents don't give, which is the best thing to do is not to give them. Otherwise we are simply making them feel that they are the enjoyers. Or we were discussing the other day, fulfilling the material desires of the children will make their heart hard, uh, will make them selfish, but engaging the children in seva will make them deep. We have very good examples of Arura Mataji. She was very restrictive with where she would never let their children watch television or games, but she would give time. Many times parents give these things because parent wants to, you leave us and then you let us do our thing and you do your thing. You're busy with that. We are okay with that. But then there's a price that comes with that. So she spent full time with her children, and like we have Radhika Raman Prabhu and his brother, super excellent examples. Very sober devotees, very much in goodness. Um, then these children, they want television. Their mother or parents allowed them to watch television only for certain time. I mean, that's how it should and then when the television is turned off, then again they are miserable. The life is very restrictive. Then they want phones from their parents. I see all the time. And when they don't get phone, the parents don't give them phone. They are miserable. And then when the phone is taken away, when they cry a lot, they get the phone. And then when the phone is taken away, then they are miserable. Then they want to go and play, but then their playing time is also limited. So they are constantly trying and they are in a constantly restrictive, and all these becomes a source of their misery. And these misery, they arise from the mind, all this misery. And these misery, Lord Krishna describes, they arise, all the misery arise because of attachment, because of contemplation on various things naturally, or previous experiences. One develops attachment, and then from attachment lust develops, which is to enjoy some aspect, and from lust anger arises. And then when their desires are not fulfilled, or the sense object given to them is taken away from them, then, and when they are children, they think the happiness is in youth. When they are in youth, they think the happiness was in children. Both are in both are an illusion. I mean, not that they only, we are all, it's just they have their own attachments that they're running after. We may have our own attachment that we are running after. And these attachments makes our life anxious, restless. Attachments makes us restless. We lose our gravity. And then they become, there is little happiness, which is anyways no happiness, which is anxiety only. There is no real happiness. And then there is misery because it is taken away at some point of time, or other point of time they become the cause of misery, or when they go away then they become the cause of misery. Either way, the result is the same. There is example of Indra, who, because he wanted to um, mm, because he has attachments, and he wants to enjoy. I mean, he is a great param great Vaishnav compared to many of us here, but like Prabhupada says, Bhagavatam teaches by an example, and we are trying to learn. We are not trying to criticize. Should the Devata, they are great souls, should not be criticized yet. From Bhagavatam, desire to enjoy leads to like he wanted to be respected, so he wanted to protect his respect. And Brihaspati came, and then he went into misery from Indra to Giriraj, and then he was miserable again. Um, Krishna went, and Krishna took the Parijata tree, and then he fought, and then he was defeated, and he was miserable again. So there is like, um, he wanted to be the king, then demons attacked, Vratrasura came, and then again he was miserable. So there are many stories that are connected to Indra, whether it is name and fame that he wanted, whether it is the possession that he has, like a tree, like the kingdom that he wanted. Anywhere there is, or whatever he wanted, the worship he wanted from Rajvasis. And wherever anything that he was being given that was taken away, taken, he was miserable. So nature of this world is, as we move along, we develop attachment. And those things Krishna are in such a way that once in a while they are taken away from us, and then it shakes us up, shakes us up. And then we see there are saints like the Dichi when Indra um, he prayed to Vishnu to um, give his save us from this dangerous situation and kill Vitrasura so that we can get our kingdom back. And the Lord was very merciful, so Lord told them you can go to Maharshi Dadichi and make a weapon using his bones. And Dadichi, when they went, Dadichi said, the life is meant to serve others. And if our life can be used in service of others, best use of human form of life. But when the life is meant to enjoy, it is a cause of misery. Um, so the difference between Dadichi and Indra, Indra's life was meant to enjoy. In a way, his desire in life is to enjoy his followers, which is in the heavenly, being the king, is to enjoy, and the followers in the earthly planet is to enjoy the kingdom or the trees or whatever he has, the respect, whatever he has. Um, and um, all these things become the cause of his misery. But Prahlad Maharaj says, those who are really trying to enjoy will be miserable. Prahlad Maharaj says, if you want to be happy in this world, stop trying to be happy. Very difficult for us to understand. Those who want to be happy in this world, stop trying to be happy. But then Maya has false promises um, that seems very attractive, and we want to pursue our false promises. But the results are opposite. The saint says, what the promises are, what the result is, they're opposite. Then why should we trust Maya's false promises? But we see the Dichi, he was using his life in service. So he had no misery by even ending his own life. Because while he was living, he was satisfied internally. And while he was dying, he has satisfaction that I am dying as a servant of Lord. The Lord wants to use my body to help them, then whatever the Lord wants. Like Gaur Gopal Prabhu, he gives an example. Um, he says, we can live our life like an ice cream, or we can live our life like a candle. Life like a ice cream is enjoyed before it melts, and life like a candle is illuminate before it melts. Both will be over. Ice cream also will lose, will basically for us will die, and candle also will die. They both will melt. But it's just whether we want to use our life to enjoy, or whether we want to use our life as a sacrifice. Um, and actually, Srimad Bhagavatam describes the human form of life is meant for the service of others, especially uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Karo Paropakar. भारत भूमि तो होते मनुष्य जन्म जा जन्म सार्थक करी करो परोपकार. It is meant to realize ourselves. It is described how it is like today I was hearing um, af it is very rare for one to achieve a human form of life, but if the human form of life is used um, for one's own pleasure, one's own enjoyment, and if you are concerned about how I'll be happy in this world, first of all, that life will be miserable. Anybody who is trying to pursue selfish desires will be the miserable person. And the person who is trying a life of service will be happy. Like we have the example of our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, our acharyas, who and all of our gurus. they are very content in a life of sacrifice, and their life is illuminating others. But those who are using their life for the sake of enjoyment, they are miserable, um, and they are not able to absorb themselves spiritually, and um, even the material life is making them miserable. So then we come in this category of um, what Kapila Muni here described. So life is an opportunity, like how Srila Prabhupada would say that life is full of choices. But at the same time, it is not something that can be given to us or that we can achieve artificially. It is also grace that we are inspired to use our life as sacrifice, like most of you are doing anyways. Today one devotee was sharing his realization, and he was sharing, Prabhu, uh, past some time I am doing without fail every day Aarti Tulsi, and I feel like a benediction of worshipping Tulsi and doing Aarti. Now my desire to render service is increasing. Now anybody asks me service, I feel like this is Krishna's mercy that Krishna is engaging me in service. So this is what Tulsi Maharani gives, and the Shastric also Seva Adhikaro Diye Karo Neja Dasi. By worshipping Tulsi, we get the Adhikar, um, or we get Adhikar means we will be inspired to do Seva. So um, um, material world is a dangerous place in a way. The desires are always there. If we can try to be conscious of what all desires that I have that are not conducive for my Krishna consciousness, or they may be obstructive for my Krishna consciousness. And then a sincere devotee, he prays, my Lord, um, take these off. My Lord, take these off. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. Ultimately, Krishna is very kind. Krishna, now, what is the reason of any desire? The reason is ignorance. Here it says, because of the ignorance, the child has many desires, they cannot be fulfilled, and then he is pained. Um, and that's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita about the importance of vairagya, renunciation. If the child holds to Nintendo, holds to playing games, holds to phone, holds to television, holds to what he wants to eat, if the child holds to that desire, he'll be miserable. But if the child says, I'm okay. Even if I don't get this food stuff, I'm fine. Even if I don't get to play, that's okay. Even if I don't get phone, that's okay. If he develop that vairagya within his mind, he'll be happy. But the thing is, this vairagya is not easy. So he remains attached. And how can we develop vairagya? Prabhupada says you have to divert our attention. Um, um, mm, rasovarjam rasopi yasya param dishto nivartate. The taste may remain, but then you focus on a param dishto. You focus on something different, something different, something different, and let that be, because we cannot give anything artificially. Renunciation for us, Prabhupada says, attachment to Krishna is detachment to matter, detachment to the pleasures of this material world is just our attachment to Krishna, and we focus on our Krishna consciousness, and that brings vairagya. And if those who don't have vairagya, they will be miserable, because if vairagya is not there, then they are attached and their desires will not be fulfilled, like we see in the children. And then we have our own desires. And then Krishna acts in such a way that wherever is our desires, Krishna will frustrate us there. And that's why one prayer is very nice. We were discussing, we regularly discuss on that. Krishna, please protect me from your material energy. And if Krishna's mercy is there, Krishna will give us the realization. But if Krishna does not give realization, Maya will give false realization. False realization is a mirage. Nobody can quench their thirst by drinking the water that comes from mirage, because the water is not, they just, it seems like water is not. That's what Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example of Maya's false promises. And it's like she makes us forget whatever we have chewed before. She makes us forget all the misery that we went through. She just makes us remember the happiness, and then she gives us a desire, and that's where our devotee, he always takes shelter of Krishna. I mean, we have heard enough, we have read enough, we have seen enough great examples. Are we willing to apply it in our life? And if we are willing to apply what we are reading, what we are hearing, then it is a sign of sincerity. And then if we are unable to apply what we are hearing, what we are reading, then it is a sign of weakness of the heart. And Krishna says, Arjuna, Arjuna, give up this weakness of the heart. And that's what Krishna also says. These are all lusty desires, because gross or subtle, any material desire come under lusty desires. And Krishna says, how can we overcome? Krishna says, um, um, with the help of intelligence, control the mind. And then with the help of spiritual strength, um, um, we can give up these desires, unhealthy desires. Is we need a higher taste, we need a spiritual strength to be able to say no. If we are weak, then when we go weak, material desires will increase. Or if we cultivate material desire, we'll go weak. they go they go side by side in our Krishna consciousness. And it's like what a general understanding. People say, this is a happy place, or kids are happy, or um, we don't know how long the life is. Just enjoy for the time you are here. Uh, Maya's false promises, or false realizations, false understanding. And this Bhagavatam is giving us a clarity. Bhagavatam is giving us a completely opposite to what we hear, what we see, but how we understand. And this is the Lord speaking. This is the Lord's version. So this becomes very, very instructive. Okay. So I would like to stop here and see if there are any discussions, any questions. Yeah. Okay. So there's no discussion, then please allow me to end here. Um, if I spoke anything wrong, please forgive me as a humble servant. Vancha kalpata rubhesha kripna sindhu vacha. Patitanam pavane vaishnavi. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Shri Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhuji Mataji, for joining. That was pronounced. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat
Thank you
Pranam.
very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat